Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am Jeff. This is Will to Live Outdoors, and we are here with the completion of the Dobinson's long travel front and rear complete lift kit for my 5th gen 4runner. So being up against the time deadline, I allowed myself a little over a week to get all of this done, including changing tires, doing a snorkel in the middle of it, just a complete rework of the entire truck. Full new suspension system. So in part one, we did the long travel rear suspension from Dobinson's with the MRR 3-way adjustable shocks, upper and lower control arms, adjustable panhard bar, and extended brake lines. And in part two, we did the front. That was the extended travel with 1 extra inch of preload for the front to give it a little bit more lift. Same MRR adjustable 3-way shocks as well. And the spring was a little bit of a stiffer spring to allow for the weight of the front bumper and everything, and the winch. We made the determination that we would not be doing a diff drop, and I just completely did away with the sway bar, eliminated it completely, so there was no sway bar drop or anything like that. So currently the truck is set up to run no sway bars front and rear. I'm gonna pick up the action in the shop at my house a couple of nights before, and this is all gonna lead up to the day of leaving. And so follow along here as we kind of fumble through a few things, and we're trying to get this thing on the 35's and go get an alignment done. So anyways, got a few challenges along the way, so stick around. With the new tires in, we needed to get the old tires off, so a couple more jack stands were needed, and we put this truck completely up all the way around. Took all 5 tires to the shop. Yeah, and if hopefully it doesn't rub like just insane, because I know I'm gonna need probably a body mount chop, but I have to have my favorite fab shop do do a little bit more. With the tires loaded up and ready for the tire shop, it gave me an opportunity to look at these mile stars. You can see all the high and low spots. Five of them. Heck yeah. Right. 35's for the 4runner. Here we go. Chewing gum like it was a contest. I got the tires to the house, unloaded them, and before I got too carried away with trying to get those mounted, it was time to put the bump stops on. So I was going to go ahead at this point and install the Metaltech bump stops. All right, I mean, I know this is one way or the other here is correct. I'm just assuming that I'm gonna line this one up with it here, which puts the whole thing back this way. So then that way, when we put the original back on here, that's gonna move it back, which looks like that's in line with the axle. And I think that's the intent here, because all of them that I see set everything back this way. So I believe this is where we need to be at, but if I have to redo it, so be it. But I think that's what I'm gonna go with for right now. And then we'll move it up and down, obviously, here in a minute to check it out. But let me just get this on there while I've got some free space here before I put the big tires on. It should be lined up with that. And more help arrived. This is the second shift. So while Jared was installing the snorkel, Erin arrived, and we got to check out his new lift and wheel and tires. Oh my goodness. Man. Just had some paint on it. Look at that. Whew. Man, After checking out Erin's Tundra, we got to work on bleeding the brakes.
Alright. Not doing it to rivet anything.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Get this stupid shit on all.
Allen Iverson? Oh, I forgot. All right, so Jared got ahead of us here. All right, so we had to take the snorkel back off, and we had to get... you know that's upside down, right? Yeah. We have those installed at this point, and now it's ready to put back on with the inner boot. And I'm fixing to pump some brakes, right, Erin?
Don't forget to put your burn protected mesh over the hole.
Yeah, that's a good call. Well, that's a nice wide fishnet pre-filter. You don't want to get a minnow in there if you're really using your snorkel. Ready?
Yeah.
During the brake bleeding process, we noticed that we had a little bit of cavitation, a little bit of air leakage coming out of the new stainless steel brake line. So we tightened those back up, repositioned those a little bit, put the keepers in, and that fixed the problem. Yes, I know. Exactly. Next, we had to go ahead and mount this snorkel, and that was after we had flipped the bracket around the proper way and had to re-rivet that to the A-pillar. While they were doing this, I was working on reservoirs on the front end.
Let me know if you need my landing.
We have a little sneak peek here. You got the rear sitting under its own weight. With the brakes bled, the rear tires on, the snorkel on. The only thing left to do is to put the front wheels on. And cross fingers we don't run into an issue because we are at 36 hours till deadline. Yep, the BFGs are just a little bit too wide and they're actually resting on the upper control arm. Luckily, Erin had some 1.5-inch spacers that he had just taken off of his Tundra, and the Tundra, 1st gen, and the 5th gen 4runner have the same bolt pattern. So let's see how this works. With the 1.5-inch spacers now installed, we quickly got the tire and wheels mounted up. And now we're ready to get this thing out of the garage. Absolutely blown away by the stance. I love the way it looks. The 1.5-inch spacers were, I'm glad we had to go that route. Just amazing. Everything looked incredible. So now we are going to do our first maiden drive and see how it tracks on down the road. Alright, looks like we got a few issues to sort here, so I have to figure out what all that's about, but so far so good. It may drive well, but it's in limp mode, and you're only going to go about 30 miles an hour. So I had to get it towed, got the codes cleared, everything seemed to be fine. However, this is the following morning, the day of, and I still have not got an alignment. All right, nothing like leaving to go on a 90 mile or 120 mile trip, and I still having the recurring multi-terrain select is unavailable, and the track light and everything else going off. We went and read the code yesterday. It has something to do with the brake system, and I still, going back to bleeding the brakes, we did the brake bleed procedure. My primary battery was a little bit low, so that very well could have had something to do with it, because I think it's just a low voltage issue. I used the scan gauge, cleared the codes. Everything seems to be operational and working at this point. Going to get in alignment now. Just some initial, just looking concerns, things that popped up, whatnot, that don't have to do with the track light coming on. But seems like maybe I'm a little low on the driver's side, so maybe some adjustment that'll have to take place there with the shock. Maybe a couple of turns to get it, bring it up to the other side, or I may just come down a little bit to match it instead of trying to increase the height. But it drives exceptionally well, pretty smooth. I have it in some really soft settings right now, which is going to be nice off-road. It's a little too bouncy for the regular road, but again, I'm just trying to get these shocks dialed in, and feels really good. Did have to go with a 1.5 inch wheel spacer. These BFGs are really wide, very wide. I went with the 315/70, so I'm at a 35 inch tire, and these are about 68 pounds, 69 pounds or so. But it's really, really wide, which is nice, but it was just a little too much width, and it got on the control arm. So I went with the 1.5 inch spacers. I'm having very, very, very minimal rubbing at all, but under full turn, I do get a little bit of a rub on the body mount. So we're gonna have to make that chop, but I'm gonna do it right. So I'm gonna hold off on doing that until I get back from this event. Just a little shakedown test this weekend, see what the limitations are of everything. But I'm really, really excited. It's getting close to being 100% finished. All I have left to do is to do the little hydraulic hose for the front. I need to get those in a place that keeps them retained, so they're not going to rub on any friction point. And well, besides that, I guess we're good. So we're gonna drop it off, get in alignment, and then hopefully they're running into no issues there. I've got the scan gauge hooked up. I'll keep it for the remainder of the weekend, because I feel like this is probably going to continue to do this until I can get it in and do a brake bleed again. So anyway, let's drop it off real quick, and I'll give a report when we pick it up. All right, just to slow down for just a second and give you guys just an update. The alignment went perfect. They have this thing driving straight as an arrow. That's good news. Bad news, ball joints, SPC uppers, the ball joints on those are shot. So I'm gonna have to replace those. But they just said that whenever I get the new ones back in, to come back in and do another alignment, it may change just a little bit. That makes sense. I let them do the panhard bar, and unfortunately we're running a little bit behind schedule, just due to the fact that after getting the wheels and tires on, lucking into some 1.5-inch spacers that Erin had just recently taken off. But anyway, we're on our way to get the alignment, and then the multi-terrain select limp mode problem. It did it again this morning. So I was like, man, I am gonna end up not being able to drive this truck, and it was gonna really, really upset me, because I just so wanted to get it on the trail. And I remembered I've got a scan gauge, and it was allowing me to clear the codes and to proceed on, clear the codes out of the system, and it seemed to work well. I'm going to leave this sucker hooked up because I feel like we're going to have continuing issues until I can figure out exactly what's causing it to do that. But so far so good, man. This thing is absolutely drives just it's very pleasant. It's a little too soft. I think I already mentioned that, but man, I think it'll just absolutely just do phenomenal things off-road. But it is kind of gets a little bit of a kind of like when you hit a little bump in the road or whatnot, and but it's pretty wild. The 35's, so glad that like I said, I was able to get some spacers and be able to make all that work, because that was just a lot of guesswork going into that. But plan on doing a part 4, get to the Jamboree, Toyota Jamboree in Gilmer. We'll get there, air down, and then check our clearances. There's a place to go and do some flexing out and whatnot, and maybe we can get a chance to see what this long travel suspension's all about. I'll just give some impressions on that at that point in time. Also, in that 4th video, I'm going to go do a complete go around and give some measurements as far as where we're at with the 35's after it's had enough time to kind of do a little settling and whatnot. So that I'm sure everybody will be interested in. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've got to get off here. We are on our way to Jambo. I'm Jeff. This is Will to Live Outdoors. Please give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Got a whole lot of you guys are returning viewers and you're not subscribed, and we would love to have you as a subscriber. Thank you so much.